Dry aging turns good fish into great fish. It leads to way better tenderness and texture, a more concentrated flavor, and my personal favorite, insanely crispy skin. But what happens when you dry age what is claimed to be the worst tasting tuna in the world, a fish called bonito, and on top of that, do it completely covered in wasabi? Oh my God. Well, today's the day we find out. But first step, we need to go out and catch some fish. So the original plan was to get out there and catch a single bonito tuna to dry age, but we ended up catching some pretty unique species. Didn't take long until I hooked into an extremely tasty one known as kingfish. Next, Sophia took over and hauled in a beautifully colored mahi-mahi. But we still didn't catch our target tuna species until I finally hooked into something that felt like it had potential.
Feeling this one a lot more than the last one.
Gonna be honest, I thought this thing was gonna be way bigger based on how it was fighting. Either that or I'm a huge baby, but either way, I'd call it a successful mission. Whew, that was quite the fishing adventure, but starting off with our first fish, the mahi-mahi. I really have no idea if mahi can even be dry aged, so it'll be interesting. And step one when it comes to dry aging fish is making sure it is extremely clean. It's already pretty good, but you'll notice this bloodline right in here, and I'm actually gonna go in with a knife and do my best to remove it. All of that blood and slime is what could possibly lead to spoilage, so it's very important that we get it super clean. Next step of the dry aging process, we want to remove the scales. And in doing so, it'll help all that moisture come out. And we can do it the traditional way, which would be like kind of rubbing your knife against it and getting them all off and destroying your kitchen, but there is a very special method that I recently learned. It is called the Suki-Biki method, and without much experience, it is very difficult to get right, so let's see how this goes. What I'm essentially attempting to do here is remove that topmost layer of skin and scales, but not going deep enough to cut into any meat. As you can see, I've removed that top layer, but not at the meat yet, which should be perfect. Some OGs remember I did this to a whole giant tuna back in the day. This stuff literally looks like snake skin. Not bad. Looks like mahi bravo. So not only is that skin removal gonna help us with the air coming out, but it's also gonna be very helpful with the next step. And it's time for citrus. The beauty of dry aging is you can actually add flavor to the meat. So not only do you get those incredible benefits of dry aging, like better texture and flavor, but you can also add all sorts of flavor, like in this case, citrus zest. And next, we're gonna hit the skin with a little bit of agave syrup, gonna give it some sweetness and also help that citrus stick. Now we'll completely cover in that medley of citrus zest. We'll get both sides as well as the interior. We'll use a toothpick to keep that cavity open for better airflow, and we'll get it in the dry ager. With the mahi in the dry ager, that brings us to the sponsor of today's video, DraftKings. Holiday cheer is finally here, and you can now find all your favorite games now under one roof on the DraftKings Casino app. Choose from over 300 real money games like slots, blackjack, roulette, and live dealer games whenever you want. They're categorized so you can easily find top games, and there is no shortage of options. With real money games added regularly, DraftKings Casino is changing the game with new ways to play, so you can have all of your favorites right at your fingertips. And don't worry, if DraftKings Casino isn't available in your state yet, check out DraftKings Daily Fantasy app, where you have a shot at winning cash prizes all season long. Download the DraftKings Casino app today and sign up using promo code MAX100. Play just $10 and instantly receive $100 in casino credits. Plus, all customers unwrap a bonus every week. The crown is yours and that fish is done, so let's dive back in. Just like that, it's been 7 days and this is what we got. I'm pumped to see that all the citrus zest is still on there, though it's clear it's dried out substantially, and the skin itself is bone dry as well. Whoa, the citrus smell is still very intense. It doesn't have any like weird fishy smells. Honestly, it looks perfect. Next, we'll fillet by taking a slice right here. Then we'll come in here. We'll just come down following the backbone as closely as possible. And that fillet just looks absolutely beautiful. The flesh itself, definitely a bit more firm, but once again, it smells extremely clean. Now we'll just slice up some beautiful fillets, and that is one perfect looking piece of fish. The color almost reminds me of like yellowtail or something. Do just a touch of oil, seasoning very simply with just salt and black pepper. And I am leaving the citrus on the skin side. Maybe it'll burn, but kind of interested in seeing what's gonna happen. And it's time to sear. Cooking primarily on the skin side, and oh yeah, that skin has picked up amazing color, and the zest doesn't really seem to have burned. A lot of people are concerned that dry aging will lead to dry fish, but that is most definitely not the case, and at least visually, it appears still packed with moisture. With a fish of this quality, gotta go all out with the tacos, so we'll press out some fresh tortillas. Nothing compares to homemade, and they're super easy. And we'll assemble. A stunning taco, but trust me, it is nowhere near as crazy as what we're gonna be doing to the wasabi dry-aged tuna later on. But for now, it's time to eat. And time for some fish tacos, courtesy of Sophia for catching this incredible fish.
I contributed a lot to this fish too.
Kyle was terribly seasick.
I apologize for this photo. Wow.
Very citrusy.
A lot of citrus.
I feel like some dry ages, when you add flavor, it's not that pronounced, but this really is. It's also extremely juicy. The texture is amazing, super moist.
I will say the skin is a little less crispy than some of the other fish dry ages we've done. Could have to do with how we cooked it, but overall I would say this is like at least a 9.5 out of 10. Dry aged mahi-mahi and citrus, most certainly tacos. I hope we can say the same for the next two. Is it that bad? This one is an absolute tank. Next up, it's kingfish. You know it's fresh when the hook is still in the fish. These teeth are just wild. Don't eat me.
Sorry, Charlie.
Kingfish is an extremely premium mackerel that I believe is best eaten as sashimi. So that's the flavor profile that'll be inspiring this dry age. And my plan is to marinate it first, then dry age it to see what happens. Make sure the inside is as clean as possible. And next we'll make our ponzu marinade. We'll add in a bunch of ponzu. It's almost similar to soy sauce, but a little more citrusy and zesty. Next, I'll grate in a bunch of fresh ginger. Next, we'll add in the biggest garlic clove I've ever seen. And we'll finish it off with some nice fresh chilies. And we'll give it a little mix. Now we'll get this in a marinating bag. You'll notice how I didn't use the tsukibiki method. The scales on this one are just so fine, it doesn't really seem necessary. And we'll let this cure overnight.
24 hours later.
And just like that, it's been 24 hours. Let's see what we got. The smell coming off this thing is honestly amazing, which is weird to say for a raw fish. All right, where do I put this thing? You can see how that inside has really darkened up, almost like it's been cured. It smells amazing. I'm just really hoping I didn't ruin all that beautiful meat. Now we'll just add some skewers for better airflow, and we'll get this baby in the dry ager.
1 week later.
It's time to see what we're working with our dry aged kingfish. After 7 days, it has certainly firmed up a bit, and this skin feels like leather. We'll take our first slice. Once again, just working my knife down the spine, trying to follow that bone. I feel like I'm starting to finally get better at filleting fish. Slowly peeling it off those rib bones until we're left with an absolute stomper of a kingfish fillet. The flesh feels firm, but absolutely smells incredible. And you can see here how there's a little bit of discoloration. It's almost like brown. That must be from some of the ponzu that worked its way through. I am gonna remove the top part from the belly. There's like this seam with a bunch of pin bones, and it just looks a little dirty. And I'll just trim off this area here with the bones and a little bit of that bloodline. And I'll just slice up some nice thick steaks of what is essentially the back strap. On a cow, this would be more like the ribeye. That looks stunning. And I can tell it just feels way more firm than a regular fresh fish. That's normal when it comes to dry aging, but it also could be because of the ponzu. Though I will say the skin feels super leathery. We'll have to see if this actually crisps up on the grill. Extremely simple on this one with just some olive oil and salt. And we'll get it on the grill. This one grilled up super quickly, which is common when it comes to dry aged meats, including fish. She still looks super nice and juicy, but before digging in, we also need to pair it with sashimi. Now for the belly section, I'm actually gonna remove all the skin, because for this one, we're eating it raw. And I'll take some beautiful slices of sashimi. We'll finish with a touch of flaky salt and just a few thinly sliced jalapenos. Ponzu dry aged kingfish. This one I'll have to say thank you to Kyle for his contribution to the team.
Someone had to do it.
Cheers. That is so soft.
That is incredible.
A little spicy.
A little kick to it, huh?
The texture is amazing, zero fishiness. I get a little bit of citrusy notes from the ponzu.
Like an underlying layer of umami.
It's like the perfect bite of sushi.
It really is. It's so clean tasting. That is a perfect example of why dry aging is a game changer. Cooked kingfish. So different. That skin though, wow. A lot more crispy than the mahi-mahi.
Cooked, you just get a completely different flavor profile, but it's still clean, it's not fishy. The texture is great.
Kingfish for sure dry ages, but this next one is a question mark. And it is finally time to prepare our beautiful bonito, AKA trash fish.
I'm the trash man.
And I just have such a hard time believing this fish tastes as bad as people say it does. I mean, it is just stunning. It has these incredible blues and patterns all throughout, and it is just an insanely aerodynamic and powerful fish. It isn't necessarily massive, but it might be the hardest I've ever fought a fish. Don't eat me.
Sucks to be you, nerd.
It is absolutely critical that we clean this fish super well, as it is known for being extremely bloody and kind of oily. Not the cleanest job in the world, but someone's got to do the dirty work.
Max, what the is this thing?
Stop. I'm using a paper towel to clean out as much of that gunk as possible. You know, with some animals, dry age really improves the flavor profile, but with other ones, like that camel we did, nope. It makes it 10 times worse, so we'll see what happens with this guy here.
Smells disgusting, Max.
I apologize. Of course, Tibby is ready for the tuna. You better believe he's getting some of this. Time to move on to the flavoring that's going on top of this tuna. Now, because it's known to have a really fishy and oily taste, I want something extremely potent, and that's where wasabi comes in.
That's a spicy meatball!
And we're going with 3 different types. We have fresh wasabi root, powdered wasabi, as well as tubed. Fresh wasabi root is more like a vegetable than a spice, and it's an extremely expensive and premium ingredient. Genuine wasabi is ground up using this shark skin grater, and it's normally only reserved for the highest quality sushi restaurants. We'll add in a good amount of that fresh wasabi. Next, we'll move on to our powdered wasabi. Ingredients say it's 100% wasabi. Oh my, holy shit. That is like a smelling salt.
That is definitely wasabi.
We'll add in a couple jars of that. Oh my God, it's getting everywhere. Sometimes I really question my decisions. And finally, we'll throw in a couple tubes. We'll add in a splash of water and we'll give it a little mix. It's like cutting onions, but worse. Oh. This stuff is extremely potent. Bottom line, that tuna will be tasting like wasabi by the end of this. First thing I'm gonna do is add some of the wasabi to the very interior, just absolutely packing this thing full to once again hopefully neutralize some of those off flavors. And honestly, I'm just interested in seeing what this will end up looking like. And finally, we'll completely cover the fish. I cannot emphasize enough how much this is taking a toll on my whole nasal passage and eyes. Kind of felt like I needed a little cry today anyway, so this is convenient. What am I looking at right now? Oh, oh mama, oh my God. Make it stop, Sophia, please. I haven't cried this much since last video when I ground up that wacky A5.
No, God, please, no!
Oh my God. There's sweat, there's tears. And we'll also get the other side completely covered. And finally, we'll just add this toothpick to help with the air flow. And with that, into the dry ager. And it is finally time for the whole reason we're here today. Did wasabi dry age save the worst tasting tuna? The wasabi is turned into what looks like dried clay, though it's still somewhat pasty. Ooh. You know, people say wasabi loses its smell and flavor pretty quickly, but this is definitely still pungent. Take the first slice right here. Definitely feels very firm and kind of dried out. That skin is literally like dragon armor. It is so tough. Okay, we're in. The flesh actually looks really nice. Pretty much got that first top loin off. Now I'll remove the belly. A lot of sinew and bones that I'm trying to get through. And we got the belly. Now, I can't speak on the taste yet, but just visually, I mean, we appear to have a beautiful loin of tuna. The meat itself has a nice, vibrant red color, though there is a pretty significant bloodline here, but I've heard that that part specifically tastes absolutely terrible, so you better believe we're trimming it off. That right there is no bueno. Oh, ooh, very, very fishy. Looks pretty good. Now I'll remove the skin. And I have to say, it really doesn't look bad at all. And for reference, just to show the size comparison between that tiny bonito and a regular bluefin tuna, these two pieces come from the same exact cut. And seeing them next to each other, it's clear that the bonito is a lot darker in color, which I imagine might contribute to the less desirable flavor. But either way, we'll take some nice thin slices. And we'll assemble our nice pieces of nigiri sushi. Tasting it raw should give us the best representation of the actual flavor, and I have to say, hopes are pretty high with this one. The time is here, we've gone fishing, caught the worst tasting tuna in the world, completely covered it in wasabi, turned it into sushi, but to start, taste tester ties.
Here comes the aeroplane.
It's really chewy. Whoa.
Is it that bad?
I have in the back of my mouth just like a lingering gross.
The texture on mine was really chewy. It also tastes like I was eating blood or iron.
Oh. I gave it a good try. The wasabi did absolutely nothing.
0.
And most importantly, wasabi dry age does not make the world's worst tuna taste good.
You are not.
Really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.
Do not eat that fish.